everyone. In this video, I want to talk a little bit more about the big picture of statistics. So we've talked already about some different kinds of data, right? Categorical versus quantitative and cross-sectional versus time series. Now I want to just think about for a minute where all this data is going to come from. So there's a lot of data that already exists. And that can come from a lot of different places, like internal documents, like information about salaries and hiring employees, or about customers and what their preferences are. Another place to find data is outside the company or organization. For example, the World Health Organization. Another reliable source of data is something called the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And there's tons of other places. Government organizations and data that's freely available online can all be useful when we're trying to make a study of some particular topic. If data doesn't already exist, then sometimes we need to actually produce the data ourselves. One way to do that is by conducting some kind of study, and there's two kinds that we're interested in. One is called an observational study, and the other one is called an experimental study. In an observational study, the individuals are simply observed and measurements are made of particular variables of interest. In this case, there's no interference with the individuals in the study. So we might be looking at something like, polling people on which presidential candidate they're most likely to vote for, or whether or not they favor a limiting of Second Amendment rights. In the case of experiments, there is an interference with the individual. What we'd usually say is a treatment is applied to a subset of individuals, and variables of interest are measured and compared with a control group where a treatment hasn't been applied. All of this information, wherever it comes from, whether it's from existing data sources or from studies where we're producing new data, is used to make an analysis. And one way is to make an exploratory data analysis and come up with some descriptive statistics. So descriptive statistics are summaries of the data in a visual or numerical way. So we're talking about things like averages and pie charts and bar graphs. The idea just being that it's easier to understand what we're seeing in a data set by looking at a picture or some small collection of numbers rather than looking at a large spreadsheet with hundreds of thousands of numbers in it. Another thing we might do with our data is use it to draw conclusions about a whole population based on a sample, and that's called inferential statistics. We'll analyze information and data that we've collected about a small group and use it to make inferences about an entire population. This is the kind of statistics we see at work when we see things like polling data. We know something precise about the collection of 1,000 people that have been interviewed and included in the study, but we use that information to extrapolate to this entire population, and that's what inferential statistics is about. And all of this is playing a part in what we call analytics. We're taking data and using the methods of statistics to turn that data into insights that allow us to make better decisions. So that's our big picture, and I encourage you to go through every section of Chapter 1. It's a short one, and there's plenty of good stuff to play around with, and it's a great opportunity to get familiar with the structure and layout of our textbook.